Welcome in, guys. James Phillips and Brian Hale, and it is our weekly wrap-up show here at DME PrepZone, always sponsored by Southern Orthopedic, right, Brian?
That's correct. The good guys and girls at Southern Orthopedic bringing us all the good stuff.
Taking care of us as a title sponsor this year, and then also you see on our ticker below our other sponsors. Be sure to check those out and say thank you to everybody for supporting DME PrepZone. I'm on DMEPrepZone.com right now, and we'll be going through our games for this week. Brian, let's start with Winston County at Aliceville. Aliceville wins 39-0, and this is about what we expected. Winston County's kind of been struggling as of late. People figured out they're a one-dimensional team. Aliceville's usually got a good team, and they rolled in this one.
It's no big surprise. I mean, Winston County really needs to develop a passing attack. They need to develop wide receivers because at this point right now, everybody knows what's coming.
Right. In a game that ended really late, even though it was a blowout, Tarrant 42, Summerton Christian 12, evidently they did not schedule referees for this game.
Somebody messed up.
Right. And I don't know if it was at the state level or the local referees association or what, but somebody definitely messed up, and they couldn't start the game until about 8 o'clock because they didn't have referees. Somebody said that one of the referees from the Carbon Hill game had to leave Carbon Hill and go to Summerton.
All I can say is somebody out there really needs to find out who screwed up, and we need to publish it. Because those poor people at Summerton Christian, I mean, if you're Tarrant, you're kind of like, man, we ain't going to get home until midnight.
Right, right. And then, but, you know, everybody makes some mistakes, so we better let them slide this time. But hopefully next week we'll have referees at every game.
I hope so.
A huge game here that I wish we could have gone to. Winfield at Oakman ended up 20-19 Winfield. And it sounds like Oakman was right there the entire game.
Yeah, and I don't, we haven't got confirmation on this, but apparently, and this is really crazy, Oakman was driving in the last couple of minutes, and when they got in for a touchdown, they got an excessive celebration penalty.
Really?
Which actually made it to where they could, they were not able to connect on the extra point. So, I don't know. I'm scratching my head on that. I suppose we'll find out in the report later on. Everybody can read it later on. But I'm just thinking to myself, what in the world could it have been with an excessive celebration?
Right. Well, and I don't like celebration penalties anyway. I think let the players celebrate when they do something big, especially this would have been a possible game-tying situation.
Unless it involves taunting, I absolutely, positively agree with you.
Right, right. Blowout Meek and Brilliant. Brilliant wins 30-6. I thought this would be a closer game.
I didn't. I mean, honestly, Brilliant is not anything like they have been in previous years. This is a pretty good Brilliant team. It's not that surprising, and I mean, Meek is, they had their really good showing against Berry, but unfortunately, I think that was kind of the high water mark this season.
Well, another blowout, Berry, you mentioned them. Berry 37-16 over Lynn. That's a surprising score.
This game was 18-16 Berry at halftime.
Right.
And then for them to completely shut out Lynn in the second half and score that much, I mean, wow. This is the same Berry team we were just talking about, Meek. This is the same Berry team that just beat by 6 points. So they've apparently made some kind of adjustments.
Yeah, Berry definitely has improved.
But that's bad news for Lynn's playoff hopes.
Yes, definitely. The Bears needed that one to kind of keep it in the right direction, and they're gonna have to have some help to make the playoffs at this point.
A real lot.
How about Curry at Haleville? This was Haleville's homecoming, I believe, and they win 15-6 over Curry.
That is very surprising as far as the score goes, because normally Curry's defense has been giving up a lot of points. So that is a great defensive effort by Curry. Hats off to them, what they've done defensively.
Right.
Offensively, obviously, there's still a lot of problems going on. So hopefully they can get some of that moving in the right direction. But I can tell you next week's going to be a tough challenge for them, which we'll see.
Right. Well, and you mentioned that while you're mentioning it, Curry will play Cordova next week, and that's going to be our game of the week next week. Will be Curry and Cordova. Cordova, they pick up a win against Oakman. They've had a week off. You got to think the Blue Devils are feeling pretty confident coming in and going to play the Yellow Jackets.
I would say they're revitalized.
Right.
I mean, big time. I'm sure when we talk to them this coming up week,
Right.
and our pregame shows, I'm sure we're going to see a much different mentality from the Cordova Blue Devils than we have seen in previous games.
I think so, and they'll also run into this Haleville team also.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cordova's got a schedule ahead of them here the second half of the season where they could run the table.
Yeah, they could.
I don't want to say they're going to, but they could run the table.
And if they do, that would be a very dangerous first-round opponent.
Right. Now, here's another game that was really close for a while, and then in the fourth quarter, the Carbon Hill Bulldogs pull away and win 34-20 over Lamar County.
This was not really that surprising to me because Lamar County is not Lamar County of the past few years. They're struggling this year. And from what we saw in the game against Oakman, I thought to myself, if Carbon Hill can just grab that, hold on to it, fight with that same mentality, and play with the same defense, they honestly have a chance, and I see that it worked out. So a big congratulations to the Carbon Hill Bulldogs and Coach Williams.
Well, and 34 points, that's a good amount of points for Carbon Hill as well.
Absolutely.
So defense played strong, and the offense showed up tonight. That's what Carbon Hill can do if they just put a little points on the board.
Certainly.
All right, Addison. This was a surprise to me. Close game at halftime, 13-12 at halftime. Addison scores 31 unanswered and wins the game 44-12 over Colbert County. That is a statement win for the Bulldogs.
The score, the win is not a big surprise, but the score is. Wow. I mean, that is blowing the doors off. I thought we might have been able to see a 21-14 game or somewhere around like 24-10, but that is a huge win for Addison. They've apparently gotten themselves really back on track.
Well, it's also a revenge win from last year because they lost to Colbert County last year, ended up second in that region because of that loss. So a big win for Addison. Let's go to Jasper was at West Point, number 1 ranked Jasper. 42-0 at halftime, ended up 42-7. The entire second string played all the second half. Jasper just rolled in this one.
I actually thought the score at one point was going to be 42-7.
Right.
So I honestly believe, and I did a little interview tonight on the phone with Brett Moore and Coach Moore, and that's what I had actually said. You know, did you have any worries of maybe a letdown with all the energy that you put out last week against Clay County? And of course, he was worried about that, Central
Right.
Clay County, but the guys. Apparently, this was modus operandi for them.
Well, and if Jasper fans were worried about a letdown, it was quickly squashed because the Vikings scored on the first play of the game. It was a pick 6 by Kevon Samuel for 29 yards. So from there, they just rolled. They scored on their first offensive play as well, 64-yard touchdown pass from Parker Sawyer to Caden Shelton. So it was 14-0 by the time you could blink, and then they just kind of rolled to the win.
Yeah, when we did a score update at halftime, I was like 35-0. Well, that's modus operandi.
Yeah, oh yeah. Your game of the week that you were at, the DME PrepZone Southern Orthopedic Game of the Week, corner at Dora. This one was a shock to me. I mean, I picked Dora to win. They ended up losing 28-0 to corner. You were there. Tell us about that game.
Well, the game actually was a tale of two halves because what we saw in the first half was really just a whole lot of defensive battles. The first half actually ended up, Dora had the slight edge in yardage just by 7 yards. It was 169 to 162. And the only points of the game had been 2 field goals by corner. So that's what we had saw. And then injuries just started to wail upon Dora in the third quarter, and corner just took off offensively and defensively. Look, as I mentioned, Dora had 169 yards of offense at halftime. They ended the game at 219.
Wow. So yeah, second half, Bulldogs just could not move the ball.
But corner ended up with 391. So that could tell you, offensively and defensively, they just went to town.
Well, our roving reporter Jeffrey Winborn was on the sidelines for the game, and he caught up with corner head coach John Clements after the game. Let's see what he had to say.
What were they doing to hold you out there?
Well, you got 2 mammoths inside like they got. We couldn't move them. So we had to go back and change up some sets and change up some blocking schemes that we were doing. it paid dividends, but our defense played outstanding the whole night. Okay, that's who played really good tonight. They just kept giving us the ball back. Eventually, we were going to score. But hats off to our defense. If we keep playing football like that, we're going to be all right.
Yeah. What does it mean to you? I mean, the season hasn't gone the way you hoped so far. What does it mean to you to be able to get this win tonight and try to get some momentum back?
Everything. We needed it. Our team needed it. Our community needed it. Our school needed it. We were in a lull there for a minute. We needed to come out and play good tonight, and I think we did.
What do you tell your team going forward to try to carry that momentum over?
Yeah, don't flinch, man. We got a long way to go. Don't flinch in competition. We got to keep going.
All right, congratulations.
Thanks, bro.
Defense, it's like he said. That defense just absolutely locked down. I was really impressed with Devin Daniel, though. 9 of 12 passing is what he connected on tonight. Ran well. I mean, overall, look, I'm sure you remember last year, Corner went through the same thing about mid-season where they made some adjustments.
Right.
And all of a sudden they took off. Boy, when he goes on the hunt for treasure, it's amazing what he's done these past few years.
I really think Coach Clements is an excellent football coach.
I do too.
And he does make those adjustments. And like this season, he's had to teach players new positions they've never played before. So it takes a little time. It's like they've had to go through a whole new fall camp in the middle of the season, to get these guys ready. What a statement win for them tonight. They're 28-0 over Dora.
Absolutely, and the back end of their schedule right now is a lot easier than the front end.
Right.
So there's a chance. They've got possibilities of making the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
It's not going to be easy, but it's certainly a better road than the first part of the season.
Well, let's talk a couple of college games. We didn't do that on Thursday during our preview show. So here on the wrap-up show, let's talk a little college. One we need to talk about from Friday night that I absolutely loved is that Cincinnati beat Central Florida.
Not happy to lose the Olympic, but happy to see UCF lose.
Right.
I mean, UCF, they've been walking around for years going, we want such and such, we want such and such. Cincinnati said, shut up.
Right.
Don't think so.
Shut it down really quick for them.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'll happily take the Lim loss to see them go to 2 losses on the season.
How many touchdowns is Jalen Hurts going to get against Kansas? Oklahoma and Kansas?
In a minimum 6.
Right.
At a minimum.
He's rolling right now, and going into Kansas, I bet they'll try to make a play for him to get 6, 7, 8 touchdowns for sure.
You know what I see Les Miles saying as he's chewing on his grass? I remember you. Oh, I remember you.
Right. Yeah. How about battle of top 25 teams? Iowa at Michigan. Michigan's favored by 4.
Yeah, and I honestly believe that it's probably going to be one of those really tight ball games.
Yeah, I think it'll be low scoring.
But I think Michigan more or less is getting that 4 points on home field advantage. And I just think that Michigan is just this discombobulated ball this year.
Right.
I mean, it's just they're a weird team. I honestly think that Iowa will squeak this one out.
I'm going to take Michigan, and I think Michigan will right the ship here. Interesting enough, we talked about Coach Clements at corner. He's going to this game.
Wow.
He was talking about it at Green Top the other day. He's got a former player from, I think it was Clay Chalkful, that plays for Michigan, and he's going to check him out.
Well, it'd be a good game to take in.
Right. Well, and it's going to be an early one. It starts at 11.
Well, that's even better.
So I hope he's on his way up there now.
Yeah, I hope he's catching a flight.
How about we talk about Georgia and Tennessee?
You do know that Tennessee has lost their 6th player already this year.
They've lost a few, yeah.
Yeah, they've already lost yet another player. Look, I wrote a column about this yesterday. Tennessee is right now, it is on a downhill, consistent slope.
You're trying to kick them out of the SEC, I think.
No, I'm not trying to kick them out of the SEC. I wouldn't mind if Florida was kicked out of the SEC.
We'll get to the Gators in a minute.
Right now, what's hurt more than anything is the perception of the program.
Yeah.
Because right now, if you're a recruit out there, what can Tennessee offer you besides a scholarship and playing time?
Right.
You're not going to play for championships.
That's true.
I mean, right now, look, Tennessee has got Georgia this week. They've got Alabama in 2 weeks, and scheduled in between that's Mississippi State. I'm sorry, Tennessee is, right now, I don't know if they're going to beat UAB in a few weeks.
I don't think they will at this point. How about another top 25 matchup, Michigan State at Ohio State?
Well, I really right now the Buckeyes are on a cruise right now. I don't see Michigan State being able to stop that.
Ohio State's rolling.
yeah.
All right, biggest game of the weekend. Your favorite place in the world, the Garden of Eden for Brian Hale, is Gainesville, Florida, right?
I hope our sheriff is careful down there.
Yeah, I heard
That's
Nick
all I
Smith's
can
going to
say.
that game.
Yeah, I know how Florida fans get when they win. When they lose, they're not as rowdy.
Well, he's probably packing though.
Well,
He is the sheriff. He's not Andy Griffith.
how many times on Walking Dead have we seen swarms of zombies be able to take somebody with a gun?
That's true. So, how about the game though? Auburn at Florida. Who wins it?
Well, let's take a look at a couple of things. Number one, Miami game. 3 pass interferences. Miami's driving down. Refs pick up the third flag. Guess what? You look on the video, there was pass interference on that.
Right,
So they get that gifted by the refs.
right.
Does anybody in this world believe that if Felipe Frank stayed in against Kentucky that Florida would have won that game?
Right.
Okay? So that's where there's 2 challenges were. Outside of that, the other 3 games that they played are against Division II schools and the worst team in the SEC.
Right.
Have they seen a defense like Auburn's this year?
I don't think so.
Okay. So Auburn, we have found out a lot about Oregon. They're a very good team.
Yeah.
Auburn goes into Texas A&M in a stadium that has actually been found out that is louder than the Swamp.
Right.
Beats them, beats the maroon out of Mississippi State, who consequently had no problem with Kentucky either last week.
Right.
Okay. Sorry, I don't see how Florida. I picked Florida against Kentucky. I see Auburn winning this by 10 points.
Well, it sounds like you've done your research and you've been wearing Auburn gear all week this week. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen you wear Auburn gear, but you hate the Gators so much.
I'm supporting our state team, number
Right.
1. Number 2, there is no natural way that I would ever pull for the University of Florida in anything. The only way I would is if they played Iran or a pack of demons.
Right. And then it's probably, you'd have to think about it.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
Well, you made a strong argument for Auburn. They're 2.5 point favorite going into the Swamp. I'm going with the Gators. I'll be cheering for the Gators. Sorry, Auburn fans. I don't have a problem with Auburn.
Worry.
I am an Alabama fan. I like you guys. You've always been nice to me. But I'm picking the Gators. I think Auburn is due a letdown game because they have played so high. I think they're due a letdown. I think the Gators' defense will be the difference, and they're gonna be chasing Bo Nix all over the field. And as I always say, Gus is gonna do something crazy, and I think that's gonna cost them the game. The Gators win a very, very close game in the Swamp.
I'll happily lose all my picks from the limb this week except for this one.
You want this one?
Yeah, I see Auburn winning it by 10 points, but I really hope they win 77-0.
And we've documented this before. You hate Florida with a passion. You're from Florida.
Absolutely.
You grew up there, but you were an Alabama fan. I feel like Florida people may have picked on you or something at some point.
You think?
Yeah.
The same reason why I'm worried for our sheriff down there is the same reason
Right.
it's not just picking on.
Right.
It's
So,
physical violence. So.
yeah, Hale has blocked out some of the violence that has happened to him over the years from
Yes.
Florida fans. And we're trying really not to bring that up to the surface because I don't want to see you turn into the Incredible Hulk or anything.
No, it's okay.
I'm glad that you're taking it kind of calmly tonight.
Well, I mean, the only thing that I can really say is War Eagle.
There you go. I will not say War Eagle, but I'm not going to say go Gators either.
I hope not.
I'll just say, let's see how the picks turn out. How about that?
Yeah.
All right, Brian, anything else?
Well, we obviously know where we're going to go next week. There's no disputing it. So
That's right.
looking very, very, very forward to a very good game next week.
I think that will be.
I think we're going to see some definite improvement, what we've seen build up for the past couple of weeks for both teams. I'm excited for next week's game.
Oh, yeah.
I think
I
it'll
think that'll be a good
be
game.
something to see. What I'm also excited about, the hot temperatures will be over with.
Yeah, we should have some cool weather. And now tonight wasn't bad. There was a good breeze blowing. I was good on the sidelines. You were probably hotter in the press box at Dora, though.
Yeah, because you know what's underneath the press box. All the
Right.
fryers
yeah,
down
yeah,
there.
they're cooking up all the fried foods.
It was infernal.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and one other thing before we go, also tonight, if you're watching this on Saturday, tonight, New Era Wrestling has their next card. I've got to mention it since I'm the owner. Swan Gym in Jasper, Caged in 2. And we're having a cage match. You don't get a cage in Jasper very often. And this is going to be Oakman's own Cody Wyndham going for a championship against the NEW Open champion Romeo. It's going to be a heck of a match.
Well, James, y'all have had some occurrence come up within the last little bit, though. I understand that somebody was qualified, and he's been making a lot of noise here in the past couple of days.
The Dotson guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I probably won't even comment on that much other than he can wrestle. I did make a statement tonight on our page. He can wrestle, but he can't wrestle for us this weekend because I'd already booked the card. He waited way too late to be complaining about his neck injury. But I have a friend who's doing a show in Tuscumbia. I've booked him and his partner through the friend. They'll be wrestling in Tuscumbia, and we'll probably have them back in November.
That is one angry gremlin.
But you know who'll be here in November?
Oh, yeah.
Tommy Dreamer.
Mm-hmm.
So if Dotson talks too much, Dotson may get the kendo stick to the face.
I still think my idea of you ought to have him in a 4-on-1 handicap match. And, you know, if he defeats all 4 of them, maybe you can consider putting him in a championship match.
Right.
But if one of those guys beats him, they'll get to hit the championship spot.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out by the time the next show gets here. But go out, Swan Gym, 6:30 is when the doors open, 7:30 the show starts. $10, it's the best $10 you can spend in Jasper. Free for kids 6 and under. Totally a family show. Come out, have a good time, and watch some professional wrestling. Auburn will be over with by then.
Yeah,
They would have
absolutely.
defeated the Gators or fallen to the Gators, whichever way it may be, by that time. So come out and watch the show. Brian, until next week when we are going to be probably right here in our studio talking to Curry and Cordova.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't wait for that. Thanks for hanging out tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week.